If people pleasing has you feeling fed up with always putting yourself last, make sure you watch this whole entire video because I'm going to be giving you the same essential tips I give my own therapy clients to feel empowered to say no when it counts.
Want to come to my birthday party next Saturday? Of course, how could I miss it? Hey, I've got to move out of my place next Saturday. Do you mind giving me a hand? Sure. You know you can always count on reliable old me. I'll be spreading the ashes of my chinchilla next Saturday, and it'd really mean a lot to me if you could come and be there to support me. Sure. I'll do my best to be there for you. Can you dog sit for me next weekend? Okay. I've always admired your wedding ring. It would really cheer me up if I could borrow it for the next few months. Well, I guess. Can you co-sign on a car loan for me? Sure. I need to borrow $1,500 for my rent next month. I'll see what I can do.
That's right, my friends. You will be pleased to know that today's video is all about people pleasing. And if you're not pleased, please, for the love of God, let us know in the comments which topic you would rather have us cover, and we'll toss this one in a dumpster, light that sucker on fire, and forget we ever made it. Because the last thing I want is for you, specifically, to be displeased. I'm Laura Brown, the more pleasing half of Better Halves, and a therapist on a mission to help you feel like your best goddamn self. If you watch this video until the end, you'll be walking away with a next level understanding of what people pleasing is and where it comes from, and some helpful tools to stop fucking doing it. Let's kick this conversation off by getting on the same page about what the heck people pleasing actually is. When we're talking about people pleasing, we're not talking about just being nice. Like, if you want to be way too literal, you could say that pretty much everyone engages in people pleasing because most people like doing things that make other people happy. Surprising your friend with a frappuccino or getting your partner a thoughtful present, like a cute outfit for yourself that they get to look at may be pleasing. But it isn't people pleasing, if you know what I mean. People pleasing is a term that describes behavior where someone is saying yes to things that ultimately puts them in a bad position because they're afraid of upsetting or disappointing others. People pleasing is over-promising. It's agreeing to do things that you'd rather not do, but you're afraid of the response you could get for saying no. Some people have a hard time knowing whether they're engaging in people pleasing or if they're just being generous. It's okay to be nice. It's okay to do things to make other people happy. But the motivation behind those actions is what counts. That motivation is also what helps us differentiate between kind behavior and people pleasing. If you ever have a hard time with this, try asking yourself, what is the feeling behind this behavior? If it's positive and joyful and makes you feel like your heart is swelling with warm, squishy feelings, chances are you're just being a sweet and thoughtful person. If, on the other hand, you're acting from a place of anxiety, stress, or fear, there's a very good chance that you're engaging in people pleasing. Okay, so why the heck do we do this? If you really want to understand people pleasing, you have to understand the feeling that influences it. For you, it may be anxiety, it may be dread, but no matter how you cut it, we're generally talking about every therapist's favorite family of feelings, fear. We don't typically feel afraid of things for no reason. I mean, sure, you might feel wary or anxious about something you're unfamiliar with because you're not 100% sure how truly safe it is. But we generally feel legitimately afraid of things that we learn the hard way are unsafe. This means you probably learned through experience that it's unsafe for people to be unhappy, displeased, or disappointed with you. And people-pleasing behavior is a way of mitigating that from happening.
Okay, Dr. Laura. Remember her? Anyway, what could be so scary about people being disappointed or upset with you? Kind of sounds like people just need to grow a pair, if you know what I mean.
If only it were that simple, you poor misguided ruffian. When people say they care about what people think about them, or that they're afraid of being judged, or people being disappointed with them, they generally don't really mean that they're afraid of the judgment or disappointment itself. Nobody reads minds, so in theory, I could be disappointed as all hell with you. Yes, you specifically, right now. But if I keep my poker face strong, how are you gonna know? The fact is, actions are what people really care about, and unfriendly actions tend to go hand in hand with unhappy feelings. It's also worth noting that there's a huge overlap on the Venn diagram for people who are conflict avoidant and people who engage in people pleasing on the regular. And why is that? More often than not, it's because they've learned through experience that significant people in their lives will put them in harm's way when they feel displeased or upset. This usually means that when they were young, their parents didn't deal responsibly with their own hard emotions, indirectly teaching them that conflict is unsafe and should be avoided, and that people-pleasing behavior is a way of doing that. What I'm saying here is that people-pleasing isn't so much about pleasing people, it's about trying to influence people not to get upset so you don't find yourself in danger, whether emotionally or physically. Like so many things people go to therapy for, is an adaptive response intended to create safety.
Sounds like you're just making excuses for people to be a bunch of sad little scaredy cats. When do people become such snowflakes?
You want to know when people became such snowflakes? Crazy as it may sound, I actually know the answer to this one. It would have been about 270,000 years ago. For real, human beings have been social creatures who depend on group belonging since forever, and your sense of security and belonging can easily be threatened when important people in your life are unhappy with you. It's not like your cave-dwelling ancestors would have pulled you aside and been like, Mabel, your positive attitude and unwavering desire to help out leave us no choice but to boot your ass from our little cave crew before changing the secret password to gain entry to the cave, leaving you facing certain death. That's the shit they pulled on the slackers and weirdos. Our species has yet to outgrow the instinct to seek and maintain approval and belonging, and so it remains a source of anxiety that we find all sorts of clever ways to mitigate, even if some of those strategies aren't exactly perfect, and create new problems that need to be addressed. And on that note, let's chat a little bit about the problem with people-pleasing. The big issue with people-pleasing is that it ultimately doesn't work. And at the end of the day, somebody is coming out unhappy, or you could even say displeased. A lot of the time, it's the people you aim to please in the first place, because you probably overpromised and can't deliver to the extent others may expect. Ironically, this can lead to the exact kind of outcome you were hoping to mitigate through the people-pleasing behavior in the first place. And even if you do happen to deliver on what you reluctantly agreed to, there's still likely to be at least one unhappy individual, you. Because how can you expect to feel happy saying yes to things that you know you'd much rather say no to?
Damn you for making sense, woman. Okay, so say someone who's definitely not me wants to leave their people-pleasing ways behind them. What should they do?
If you're ready to retire from your career in people-pleasing, here are some tips to make the transition easy on yourself. First, work on becoming more comfortable with handling other people's feelings of disappointment. Disappointment is an emotion that we have to deal with pretty much as soon as we emerge from the womb. It is the emotional consequence of not getting what we want, or things not being how we'd like them to be. And guess what? That's life. It sucks, but it is what it is. Personally speaking, I am constantly experiencing disappointment. And guess whose problem that is? My husband's. Wait, did I just say that? I mean, it's mine. It's my problem. If I invite you to my birthday party and you decline because you already agreed to go to Stephanie's gender reveal party, my disappointment on the matter is my thing to work through. It's not something that you need to rescue me from by committing to something that you ultimately can't deliver on. Granted, not everyone strives to deal with their own feelings of disappointment in a mature way, so it's always possible that you may be on the receiving end of a guilt trip or some other bullshit. But my point here is to remember that you are not responsible for saving others from disappointment if whatever is in your best interest doesn't align with what they want from you. Keeping this fact in your back pocket and reminding yourself of it every time that fear or anxiety pops up is one way to avoid people-pleasing, and also eventually feel less discomfort and distress in those situations. The next thing that I recommend to any people-pleaser looking to give that nonsense up is to ask yourself, how likely is it that others will actually judge or think less of you for the thing you're worrying about? Sure, anything is possible. But how probable is it? If you go out for brunch with your 4 besties and don't graciously offer to foot the bill when the check comes, It's possible that they might see you as a miserly old stinge hound, but is it likely? I sure hope not. And even if Sarah Beth, the audacious one in the gang, asks, "Oh, you're not going to pay for us all?" we can hope that she'd understand after you explain, "While I would love nothing more than to treat my besties, I can't exactly do that and pay my rent or mortgage this month. And y'all know how addicted I am to keeping that roof over my head." The fact of the matter is, the responses we worry most about receiving are not super likely to happen. And if they do, it's quite likely that that, in itself, is weird. Like, sure, it feels crappy to be on the receiving end of judgment or criticism, but if you really think about it, most of the things we worry about being judged for would actually out the judger as being a bit of a weirdo. Like, if they can't cope with other people not making their nitpicky little concerns a priority, maybe they should, I don't know, go to therapy or something. I know a few people. Shoot me a DM, judgers. This last tool is undeniable proof that I am, in fact, a real deal therapist, because it is the most therapist thing you will ever hear me say. Want to guess what it is? Pause this video for half a second, go into the comments, and write your guess. If you're right, you win bragging rights to all your friends and family. Imagine being able to say, "Hey guys, I guessed something from a YouTube video today." If that isn't the most surefire way of becoming goated, I don't know what is. Okay, ready for it? The next tip is setting boundaries. Is that the most generic advice you'll ever hear? Absolutely. But in this case, it's 100% appropriate. By definition, people-pleasing behavior involves doing things that you know in your heart of hearts you would rather not do. Setting boundaries is all about knowing what your limits are and asserting them. So if Lindsay hits me up like, "Hey bitch, I'm moving this weekend and could really use the help of your beefy biceps, triceps, lats, and hamstrings," even though my fear of upsetting or disappointing her might have me like, "Duh, okay, just tell me when, fam." I know that the right answer is, while there's literally nothing more in the entire universe that I would rather spend my time doing this weekend, I sadly must decline. It is with the heaviest of heavy hearts that I must let you know that I have 2 teensy-weensy little children to care for. And you know what? I also just kind of want to chill. Does it suck to be Lindsay? Probably a little. Moving sucks. But I don't have the bandwidth for that shit. By setting a boundary, I give myself the gift of a little bit of recovery time, which I desperately need, and I avoid developing resentment toward my friend for agreeing to do something that I'd much rather not do. Now, if you struggle to set boundaries, and let's be real for a second here, there's a very good chance that you do if you have trouble with people pleasing. Here's a tip. Whenever you're asked to do something that you'd like to say no to, and you feel that hit of anxiety and stress, pause. Take a single deep breath and then do the opposite of what you might feel inclined to do out of habit. Of course, this will feel completely counterintuitive, but setting boundaries is a skill, and all skills require practice for us to get better at them. The more you practice saying no to shit that isn't right for you, the easier it will become over time, and the less stress and anxiety you will feel. Okay, if you found these tips helpful, let us know in the comments which one spoke to you the most, and share this video with anyone and everyone who could stand to hear this message. Of course, help a sister out by liking this video by tapping the thumbs up button, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single mental health boosting upload. Thanks so much for watching, and take care until next time.